Welcome to episode 2 of Magic Kettle Discussions. Now, last week, well, I can't say last week, the first episode, after the first episode was aired, I put out there a vote to see what the next topic was going to be on the discussion. And the winner of the discussion for the vote was Mono Green. Yes, Mono Green won that. Hands down, of course. So, that's what we're going to be discussing today. So, we're going to be discussing pretty much what green does, what it means. So, the previous episode 1 was Mono White. Mono White does things of purity, basically of protection. That's the big thing with white, right? So, green is about life, about power, nurturing, restoration. It's a lot of things that green is known for. And there's a couple options here. Some of them are straightforward. Other ones kind of let you play around a little bit. Some of the topics we're going to be doing today will align with each other. There's a lot of going to be some common cards we're going to discuss as well amongst the ideas here for deck building. So hopefully you get to enjoy the discussion. So the very first card that we're going to talk about here is actually for a bear deck, a bear themed deck, matter of fact. This card became very, very popular when she was released. It's because it's something that's never been seen before. The card is a legendary bear, Ayula, Queen Among Bears. She costs 1 and a green to cast. She is a 2/2 bear, shocking, but she has very 2 interesting abilities. Whenever another bear you control enters, you choose one of 2 abilities. The first ability is put 2 1/1 counters on a target bear. So you can even target Ayula herself, if you so wish. Another is a target bear you control fights a creature you don't control. So again, you can target Ayula directly. Now, some of you who may be new to this are wondering, how many total bears are out there that are within like a budget standpoint, or even just in general? But from a budget standpoint, there is a total of 31. 31 total bear cards. There are a few that do stand out. They came out in a few different sets and such. So, the first one I'm going to pitch out there is a Rampaging Yao Gai. Yaogui. I probably butchered the name, but that's the creature. It costs X, green, green, and a green. It is a mutant bear, 2/2 mutant bear, or bear mutant, rather. And this came out of the Fallout sets. She has Vigilance, Trample, and when it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. Then, destroy any number of target artifacts and or enchantments with total mana value X or less. Now, this may be like a haymaker kind of bear play. However, when you are already doing the X cast, say you do 4, right? So it already comes in as a 4/4 bear. Then Ayula will grant it another 2, so it becomes a 6/6 vigilance trampling bear that's already destroying all kinds of artifacts and enchantments that could be giving you a headache. Which actually isn't too bad in that sense. Then here's another bear. And this one's kind of an odd one, actually. It's called River Bear. 3 and a green. It is a 3/3 bear with an ability called Island Walk. Now, what Island Walk means is that any opponent who controls an island as a basic land, that bear can go directly to the opponent and hit them for it. So, when you play this, Ayula turns that 3/3, can turn it into a 5/5, and basically you're punching someone in the face for 5 total damage with a River Bear. Let's see. Yes. I did. Good. Now, there is one final bear of note for this. It is called an Owl Bear Cub. This came out of the Boulder Gates Commander sets. We're talking, I don't know. I want to say a couple years ago, I think. Could be wrong. Been a hot minute. But it is a 3/3 bird bear. It has an ability and it's called Mama's Coming. That's what it's called, and the ability it's listed as. Whenever the Owl Bear Cub attacks a player with 8 or more lands, look at the top 8 cards of your library, and you may put a creature card among them, tapped and attacking that player, and then the rest go to the bottom in random order. Now, the little fun fact with that is that if you're playing a bear-themed type deck with Ayula on the board, say you get a bear on the board, all of a sudden your bear suddenly comes larger and you're throwing in even more. Now, are there other ways of making bears that doesn't necessarily involve full-on creatures? And there is. There is an enchantment, and it's called Ayula's Influence. It costs green, green, and a green. So, its ability is you discard a land, create a 2/2 green bear token. So, even tokens can get buffed by Ayula, which is very, very fascinating. And also, when you think about it this way, when you fight something, the damage is dealt for the turn. So, even if something is like, say, 9 toughness, for example, every bear, and this is at instant speed, and you don't have to do it for just a turn. Say you have a hand of like a bunch of lands and not a lot to do with, you literally could discard enough lands to weaken that 9 toughness creature to almost destroy it, and all you're losing is bear tokens. You're not losing your physical creatures, which is actually very, very handy and helpful. Now, there's at least a sorcery here that I have found, and it's just digging through this, that can help you get benefits, plenty of them. It's a cost 4 green and a green, so it's 4 colorless, 2 green mana. It's called Tatiana's Command. It came out of, I believe it was the Brothers War set, which is one of my personal favorite sets. I love that set. You choose 2 abilities when you cast it. You can either exile a target player's graveyard and gain 1 life for each card exiled this way, which is a perfect counter to, say, someone who's playing a graveyard recursion style deck, where it's like, okay, I'm fine with getting stuff in the graveyard because that means I can pull stuff back into play. It sort of becomes a second hand, which is how some people would explain the strategy of those particular decks. But if you remove that, you pretty much really hinder those kinds of things. So if someone gets 20 cards in their graveyard and only removing a few at a time, essentially, and say it's maintaining an average of 20, you suddenly just gained yourself 20 life. You brought yourself back from a losing position to probably bringing yourself back into the fight. Next, you can search up to 2 lands and put them onto the battlefield tapped. Now, they can't be used the turn you play it, bring them in, because they come in tapped. But still, getting 2 extra lands is not that bad. Then, you can also do one of these other 2. And it's in any order. Doesn't matter. You can choose any 2 of these. Create 2 2/2 green bear tokens, which is, again, not terrible. Then, or you can put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. That would be massive. So, you get yourself a board of bears, basically a board of creatures. And it's like, all right, I have an average of 4 power across the board with Ayula's ability putting 2 1/1 counters on every bear that comes into play. Excuse me. Then all of a sudden, now I've just turned my 4/4s into 6/6s, and it's like, okay, I have a lot of power on the board. I can do a lot of things. So now, if you're discarding lands due to Ayula's influence, you may be wondering yourself, is there a not a lot of people know about a budget way to replay your lands from the graveyard. There is one card that is a budget worthy. It's called the Perennial Behemoth. It is a colorless artifact creature, artifact beast to be exact. It costs 5 mana, so it's pretty hefty, but you may play lands from your graveyard. Now that is where Ayula's influence becomes very good in this sense. So, that's the general rundown with Ayula. Now, there are, like again, we're gonna go over the common cards for all of these deck ideas that are coming about. Okay? There's plenty of them. There's quite a few in here that I've put. So we will get there after we get through all the other ideas here. So the next one, to me, I like the reason why I like the budget builds is sometimes it comes out with stuff that makes you go, that's really an oddball card, but there's stuff out there that can make this really, really good. But nobody really wants to be or doesn't even know about the cards. Now, this one is Sosuk, Son of Shishiro. 2 colorless and a green. He is a 3/4 snake warrior. Other snakes you control get +1/+0. So he buffs up. It's just a power buff, nothing crazy. Just +1/+0. But other snakes you control that deal combat damage to a creature destroy the creature at the end of combat. It's pseudo death touch. Is basically what that long-winded way of saying your creatures gain death touch. Now, what are some ways to utilize here? Now, there is one called the Orochi Leaf Caller. He costs only 1 green. He has a 1/1 snake shaman. And it says he has an ability of pay a green, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Now, I will get to where some of this is going here in a few moments. Here's another shaman. Sakio, Mother of Summer. She has 4 colorless and 2 green. 3/3 snake shaman again. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, add that much green mana, and until the end of your turn, mana doesn't dissipate as phases end. Now, what that means is, because with Commander, there's no mana burn. I'm not sure if there's mana burn in Standard anymore. I don't think there is. It's been at least 20 years since I've played Standard. So, yeah, showing my age. Ooh, boy. Anyway, so this is really great in the sense that if you're able to get through, like nobody wants to lose a creature, you deal damage and you get green mana to kind of feed into everything else you want to do. Now, why am I talking shamans when I have a snake warrior that can give pseudo death touch to other snakes? Well, snake shamans, there's snake warriors, I have a snake hydra enlisted in this too. But the reason why I'm mentioning the shamans in this way is so you have the son of Shishiro. They also came out with a daughter of Shishiro too. This one is Sachi, daughter of Shishiro. Also costs 2 colorless, 2 green. She is a 1/3 snake shaman herself. Other snakes get +0/+1. So she does the defensive side of what the brother does, essentially. It's a brother-sister combo. Then Shamans you control gain an ability of tap, add 2 green mana. So, this is where it gets interesting. So if the daughter gives the leaf caller the tap ability to grant 2 green, you can turn the 2 green. This matters if you're playing this little thing, this little duo here, in a multicolored deck. So you don't have enough the mana fixing to cast everything you want. That does matter later. We will be talking dual colors later on down the road, but this will give you an idea of where this could go also. So you could tap the leaf caller to give you the 2 green mana, and take that 2 green mana, put it into the instant ability of the leaf caller, and transform it to the other colors you need. And it's pretty darn good in that aspect. Now, that's one thing that can be done. But also, using it of mana of any color is useful for one particular card in here. I've put in this little list of discussion, is the Vizier of Menagerie. 3 colorless and a green. A 3/4 snake cleric. You may look at the top card of your library, and that is at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library, and you can spend mana of any type to cast creature spells. So, I think that's where that comes in pretty good handy, and also good in a multicolor deck too for the Vizier. Now, what about other ways you can do? Excuse me. What about other ways to make snakes besides just casting snake creatures? Well, there is a really great enchantment. It's one of the more interesting ones for me. I always enjoy those kinds of interesting cards. There's a green enchantment, and it's called the Snake Pit. 3 and a green. Whenever an opponent plays a blue or black spell, you may put a 1/1 green snake token into play. Someone that you are playing with in a commander setting will have one of these 2 colors, or both of these colors. There's always that chance. You've got like a 75% chance plus that you will see this color and you will get snake tokens. There's another odd one. There is Orochi Hatchery, costs XX, and it's an artifact. Now the XX will put charge counters on the artifact when you cast it. That's what the XX is for. Now when you pay X, so when you pay 1X, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You pay 2X, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, and it's so on. It goes up and up and up from there. I think the highest X I've ever seen myself is a 3X, so it'd be a 3-to-1 ratio. So, just to simplify it a bit more, so you pay X, you pay 5 into X, you get 5. Okay? You pay 6X into 2X, you're getting 3. Pay 9X into 3X, you're only getting 3. Okay? That's kind of how those function. It'd be nicer if it didn't. With some of the cards, it'd be nicer to be like, gosh, I wish I could do more with this, but some of the abilities make you go, okay, I can see why they did it that way. But this particular one is you pay 5, tap it, create a 1/1 green snake creature token for each charge counter on this artifact. So again, even if you pay 6 into this and get 3, you still get 3 snakes. You start getting 3 token snake creatures that gain pseudo death touch for even blocking you, which is pretty handy. Now, the last 2 cards in the discussion here for this particular commander I've chosen, Shishito the Whispering Hunter. 3 and a green. 2/2 Snake Warrior. Beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a snake. Okay? Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player skips the untapped step. That is huge. It's essentially paralysis. This snake When he hits players, paralysis. Done. Boom. There's a card that you can put in here that could make this possible. And that is, there's one called the Prowler's Helm. The Prowler's Helm is an artifact equipment, basically, and it says, creature cannot be blocked except by walls. So many people do not run walls in their decks. Now, beginning of upkeep, to sacrifice a snake, if you don't have another snake, you have to sacrifice him as well. So that's where having the snake tokens as the protection to keep him on the board is useful. One of the biggest ones, which I'm sure this has been part of discussions since it came out, it was from the new Kamigawa set. The one back in December, I want to say December of 23, I believe. Shigeki Jukai Visionary. He's 1 and a green, a 1/3 snake druid. He has an interesting channel ability, which is I'm going to read first. XX green green. Channel abilities are not counterable. There is nothing that can be done. There's no cards that are out there that stop the channel ability. But for XX green green, discard this card. Return X target non-legendary cards from graveyard to your hand. I'd say that's pretty dang good. Then there's one where he is on the field and you can bring him back to you in order to redo the channel ability. Do this channel ability. 1 and a green, tap. Return Shigeki to your hand. Reveal top 4 cards of your library. Put a land card among them onto the battlefield tapped. The rest go in your graveyard. So, you make sure you have ways to bring Shigeki back to your hand from the grave. You pretty much could definitely feed into this almost every single turn and keep getting stuff that you can use. I'd say that's pretty darn handy as well. Here's something really fun. There's a card from Commander Legends that's still underrated as far as pricing is concerned, but it's so good. It's called, it's one of the courts, I think it's the Court of the Abundance, I believe. Put it in the comments in case I have that wrong. But it has kind of a dual effect where as long as you have, even if you don't have one of these, you can still do it. At the beginning, on your upkeep, you have the option of putting a land onto the battlefield. I believe it's tapped as well. However, it comes in, it gives you Monarch. So Monarch is an ability where at the end of your turn, you draw a card. Before your discard step, though. That's the thing. So if you have the limited card size, so a hand of 7, you draw that card, you're up to 8, you still have to discard a card. Don't have much choice on that one. But if you have Monarch, you can play a creature from your hand for free on your upkeep. So I think that's pretty dang crazy too. That's pretty darn good. Now, moving into the next card of discussion here. Now, this is another kind of an odd one. Something I don't see played often. Surak, the Elusive Hunter. Now, you may hear Surak quite often. He's in quite a few different color wheels as far as legendary style. But he costs 2 and a green. This is a mono green one. He is a 4/3 human hunter. He cannot be countered. So you cast him, nobody can stop it. No ability, no counterspell. Doesn't matter. He is on the board. He has trample. And then whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. I'd say that's pretty dang good. So he's not immune to the abilities when it's on the board. And because he technically counts for himself as his ability, you will still draw a card off it. If somebody uses an ability to, like, return him to your hand, like as an example, you see that quite common of, oh, I'm going to just bounce that back to your hand. You'll see that quite often. There are other ways to protect your spells from being countered, and say you don't want them necessarily to be countered necessarily, but make people really work for it. There's a card that's in the budget reach now. This did not used to be true a few years ago, but she is now. It came out of one of the Theros sets. So it's one of the Greek mythology type sets. Destiny Spinner. Costs 1 and a green. She's a 2/3 human. Creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. It's pretty darn good. It has another ability that can turn a land into a creature for a turn, giving it haste and all that. But the part of not having your creatures or enchantments countered, I'd say that's pretty dang powerful. Now, what if you want other ways to draw cards in addition to Surrak's ability? Well, there is one creature. It's called Soul of the Harvest. Hefty mana cost tag, but very strong. 4 colorless, 2 green. A 6/6 elemental. He has trample. But whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Okay. You know, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's not bad. But then there's other ways also to feed into Surrak's abilities thing to target your creatures. There's a Runic Armasaur. Costs 1 colorless, 2 green, 2/5 dinosaur. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or a land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. Now, the specifics of that isn't a mana ability. Okay? Basically, it's a tap ability. So it's just a straight tap. No, there's no mana paid into it. It's, oh, I tap my creature to remove your creature from the battlefield, whether it's to your hand or to graveyard. Oh, okay, perfect. I'll just draw a card off that. So I'll draw a card off the Armasaur. I'll draw a card off Surrak as well. Perfect. Thanks for the 2 free cards. Now, there's another way to draw cards that I do like, because tokens is one of the big deals. Tokens, to me, is one of the things that some of the sets have kind of leaned into a little bit over some of the years. And this one particular artifact is great when you start making like 1/1 tokens, 2/2 tokens. So this can be good, really useful in the previous 2 that I discussed as well. It's called Symmetry Matrix. Colorless. It's a colorless artifact. Costs 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control with power equal to its toughness, enters, you may pay 1 colorless, and if you do, draw a card. So, at the cost of a single mana, you can draw 1 card. And you can do this for each instance, because it's whenever a creature. That's the other thing with the wording. Whenever a creature. So, as the example, the Samuchi artifact that I talked about, the Orochi hatchery I spoke about earlier, when it has 3, excuse me, when you can make 3 snakes that are 1/1s, yes, it's the cost of 5 mana, which is rough. Or even better, what about the Snake Pit? With the Snake Pit, every time someone plays that blue or black spell, you are making a 1/1 green snake token. So each time someone else is playing a spell, burning their mana, you can burn 1 to draw a card off that. I'd say that's pretty darn handy. And there's other ones too. So, there's one in particular that can help with what's called deck fixing in a sense. It's not major deck fixing. That's the thing. It's not major, but it's still handy. It's called Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Again, this is a colorless artifact. Costs 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. So what scry means is you can look at the top card of your deck and either keep it on top or put it on the bottom. Very straightforward. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay 1 green mana, and if you do, draw a card. That's pretty darn useful. Then, there's another one called Shaper's Sanctuary. It costs 1 green. This is an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. This feeds straight into the Armor Sword, feeds straight into Surrak. Essentially, you can have all kinds of ways that someone literally looks at your board going, okay, I want to remove stuff, but if I do, I'm just going to give you more stuff to replace it with. I don't know if I really want to do that right now, but it makes people think about how they want to approach it. They really have to scratch their heads and think, how am I going to get rid of things when I'm literally stuck with, shoot, all I have are things that can target your stuff, and when I target your stuff, you get to draw cards off that. That's the kind of things that really I find interesting when I'm trying to come up with something unique. Now, this one's going to be pretty quick. This is one that's been talked about a lot as well. This is one that I like to describe as a Voltron build. That's why this one's going to be very quick. There's a few ideas. There's a few cards here. Matter of fact, one of them I've already mentioned on here as already. But we're going to go through it here. So, Toski, the Bearer of Secrets. This came out of the Valheim set. So it was the Viking Warrior set. Hello, subscribe. Hello there, viewers. Thank you for joining. So, we're currently talking about Toski, the Bearer of Secrets. He costs 3 colorless, 1 green. It is a 1/1 squirrel. He cannot be countered. He is indestructible, which kind of matters here. A little bit, not much. Has to attack each combat if able. So in other words, there's a mechanic that came out in Baldur's Gate and a few others that's called Goad. So Goad, if you're familiar, basically means, oh, I have to attack a person other than the one that goaded me. That's what that is. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Now, there are other ways to have your creatures deal damage and draw cards. But we're just going to talk about the focus of what Toski can do. So, the first artifact is one I mentioned already, the Prowler's Helm. Costs 2 mana. Can't be blocked except by walls. It costs 1 to equip it. Nope, equip 2. My apologies. Equip 2. So pay 2 mana, you can equip it to Toski. He is unblockable except to walls. There's another one that's called Borak's Battlehorns. Again, this is a colorless artifact. Costs 2 mana. And equip is cost of 1. So this creature cannot be blocked except by 1 creature. Alright? Then there's one called Skeleton Key. This is one that gets kind of more interesting because now you're looking into, this one's looking into the draw discard kind of sets things here. There are plenty of those kinds of abilities out there. So Skeleton Key, pay 1. It's a cost of 1. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. It's an equip cost of 2 to do it. So, with Toski, you hit a player, you get to draw a card, Skeleton Key goes off, you draw a card, then you discard a card. You can do it in that order, because the abilities will stack on each other. That's how you have them. You can have them stacked any way you want. Basically, as long as they're your abilities. Okay? Now, Toski is indestructible, but it's not perfect. But there's other ways to make your creatures kind of pseudo indestructible too, if you wanted to try to get some things going. There's an enchantment called Snake Umbra. There's a lot of these. There's many of Umbra cards. You will see that there are enchantment auras. So the enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Now there's a second ability at the bottom of this card called Totem Armor. And that's what you will find on a lot of these Umbra enchantment auras. So what Totem Armor does, if anyone got into the New Streets of Capenna set, there's a mechanic called Shields. So if a creature would be destroyed, you get rid of a shield token instead. That's what the Totem Armor ability is. You essentially will lose the enchantment, but you won't lose the creature. So that's pretty much how Totem Armor functions. So that's pretty much Toski in a nutshell there. It's basically attack all the time, try to benefit off the ability of drawing cards. Make him unblockable, make him a threat, build him up, and make it wild. That's essentially what he is. The last one that I'm throwing out here today, with green, one of the biggest deals that everyone talks about as far as green goes, you'll see the same discussion when we open up with red, mono red, when that episode comes out, is what's called the Elf Ball deck. That's what you will hear about mostly when you talk about mono green. You could hear about beast decks, like the big green stompy decks, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of people love to do the elf deck. Morrowind the Nurturer. 2 and a green. 1/1 elf druid. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Morrowind. She has a tap ability. Tap, add an amount of green mana equal to Morrowind's power. So, obviously, she starts at 1, right? There are similar abilities that are out there. So one example I have is Wirewood Channeler. It costs 3 colorless and a green. It's a 2/2 elf. Tap, add X mana of any color where X is the number of elves in play. There's some that play along in those veins of, you equal to power, equal to the number of creatures of a type you have. They're out there. Now, there is a nice little thing that's out there that basically feeds on itself, which makes things very, very interesting. The first one is Elvish Warmaster. 1 and a green, so 1 colorless, 1 green. 2/2 elf warrior. Whenever 1 or more other elves enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior token, and this ability only goes off once per turn. Okay? Once per turn opens up doors for instant speed stuff. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of instant speed that's like low down, unfortunately, but they're out there. This guy can definitely feed into that pretty well if you wanted to make a high-powered elf ball deck that's mono green. But here's something that can work with him as well. It's called Imparis Perfect. 2 colorless, 1 green. 2/2 elf warrior. Other elves you control get +1/+1. So it's an anthem boost effect. Pay 1 green. Tap. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. You could do this one at instant speed. That is an option. Once the haste wears off, once the summoning sickness wears off. So summoning sickness is, for any new player that watches, you cast a creature, unless it has haste, which means you get to use things immediately, you have to wait a full turn rotation in order to use abilities or attack with. You can block as much as you want, but as far as abilities or attacking, you have to wait one full turn rotation. But again, this thing will help feed into the Elvish War Master. Even if you don't do it on like your first opponent's turn, your second opponent's turn, but you wait till your third opponent's turn, that was where it could matter a little bit. Now, what about ways to utilize the Imperious Perfect and the Elfish War Master? There is an elf also, and that is out there. It's called the Seeker of Skybreak. 1 and a green. 2/1 elf, tap ability, untap target creature. So you, in a sense, can make 2 elf tokens, which in turn, with the War Master, gives you an additional 1, right? So essentially, Imperious Perfect with the Elvish War Master will grant you 2 elf tokens, which in turn gives a 2 1/1 counters on Morrowind each time. Okay? So, but there's one other that you could really work with. Again, this is going to be like late game. Oh, I lied. There is one instance. One instance I did find. And we'll get into that in a moment. But this is one that can probably give you the biggest benefit from Morrowind. The Immaculate Magistrate. 3 colorless, 1 green. 2/2 Elf Shaman. Tap ability. Put a 1/1 counter on a target creature for each elf you control. Now, let's do just a hair of math here. So, let's say you have Marwyn on the field. That is a 1/1 creature. She is a 1/1 elf druid. Okay? She costs 3 mana, of course. So if you wait, obviously, you put her out turn 3. Turn 4, play the Elvish War Master. 1/1 counter trigger, 1/1 counter trigger, because the Elvish War Master counts himself as he enters the battlefield. So we're up to 3. We're up to 3 power right now for Marwyn. Okay. You play Imperious Perfect next. Okay. That comes in, gives you that comes in, then another elf. Because of another elf entering the battlefield on your turn. So now you've gone from 3 to 5. Okay? Say you manage to get around, you play the Seeker. So that's another elf for 6. Token from War Master. So she's up to 7 right now. Right? This would be turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. She's a 7/7 on turn 5. Right? And that's if all your mana lines up very nicely. Okay? Now, you play the Magistrate next. That's 8. 1/1 counter, 9. She is a 9/9. She grants you 9 mana right now by turn 8. 9 mana on turn 8. You're hitting your mana curve at a pretty good level at that point. Even if you don't have all the land base to account for that, excuse me, she herself will make up for it. But let's push this even further now. Say on one turn, right? Say you wait. We're going to get to the instant now, which is where the math's going to add up now. Say you get to not opponent 2, but opponent 3. Their end step. You tap Imperious Perfect. Paying a green. Making the token. So you're at 9. 10 with the token. War Master gives you the 11th now. So, 11 elves. 10 elves have come in. She is an 11/11. Then, on player 4's turn, You use the Seeker's ability to untap Impairs Perfect. Retap it after you pay the green. Gives you the token. War Master gives you the token. You're at 13 power. Follow that up by tapping. You tap Morrowind. It gives you 13 mana. And you play an instant with 4 of that mana, so you have 13 mana down to 9, called Galadriel's Ambush. 3 colorless, 1 green. So that's where 4 of your mana just went. Instant speed. Create X 1/1 green elf warrior tokens where X is the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage this turn that would be dealt by non-elf creatures. So say someone did get way ahead of you and they're going to wipe the table. Or even just like one player who could help you slow down another. Say Ayula. Let's throw that out there. Just because we're on the discussion of green, let's throw it out there. Someone's playing an Ayula deck, and when I was talking earlier that you have 6/6 power bearers, basically you're talking 40 life at the start of a game. So 6, 12, 18, 24. So 8 bears. Just 8 bears at 6 power is enough to take out one player with trample or anything else they can grant power to it. You play Galadriel's Ambush, you just got yourself 8 more elves. War Master will grant you only 1, because it's 1 or more, I believe, if I read that correctly. Yep, 1 or more elves. So you get 8 elf tokens. So you're already at 13 power. 8 more puts you at 21 power. War Master grants you another, which gives the 22 power to Morrowind's ability. But let's go a little bit further. Let's say this was on a combat step, right? This was on a combat step. War Master is not going to matter right now at this point. The ability went off. It's done. Before that ends, you can use another 4 mana, so you're down to 5 green floating mana. You're going to end up losing the remainder unless you have some other big plays you want to do at instant speed. But again, we'll get to the common cards for all of these, and you will see where a lot of this will go. So the last 4 mana out of the 9 that you had left, you can cast an instant called Second Harvest. For each token you control, create a token copy of that permanent. So, legendary rules do apply. However, what if, and actually you could actually do it this way. So what if you played Second Harvest first? You already had a bunch of tokens in play. You played Second Harvest and copied the War Master. You just gave yourself, I believe it was 9 at the time. 13. No, you were at 13 power. Yep. So let me see. Hang on. I gotta do math. Math is fun. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you had 9. There we go. So you had 9 tokens to start with. You could make 9 more copies of a War Master. And when they all enter, they all see themselves enter, and they each set it off. Because they're brand new. They're token copies of the permanent. I believe that's how that should function. If there's anyone out there who can check on this rule, I'll even probably check on it, and I might correct myself later on the episode 3 before we start on episode 3 in December. Because like I said, this is a once-a-month cast episode. Anyway, once-a-month cast show. Anyhow, so say you make 9. Let's say for the moment you make 9. You make 9 more Elvish War Masters, and they in turn, as they enter, give you 9 more. That's 18 power you just threw on Morrowind? Ooh boy. You just took a 13 power up to 31. 31 power. You grant ways to give her unblockable. You literally one-shot people at tables with commander damage. So, this is why everyone calls the elf ball is an elf ball. So it's a slow build up. So every turn, more elves are coming, more elves are coming, more even like this particular idea does apply to other things as well. So like artifacts. There's artifact decks that do this, that build on each other each and every turn, and they just get more bigger and bigger and bigger. This happens with beast decks, dragon decks. Oh yes, zombie decks as well. That is a very big theme that you will find over and over and over if you're doing those kind of tribal decks is the exact word I was thinking of, tribal decks. So that in itself is pretty wild. Now, there are common cards across all of these that you can use and find that are in budget, that are pretty darn good in my, that I myself have even used. So one is Yavea, Nature's Herald. This is a green elf. Shaman. She costs 2 colorless, 4 green. She also has Flash. So Flash means you can cast her as an instant speed. And it's a creature, mind you. She has a 4/4. You may cast green creature spells as though they have Flash. So not only are you casting instants on someone else's turn, you can cast creatures on someone else's turn. That is pretty darn useful. Now, other stuff here, there's very common stuff, what's called mana ramp. Mana ramp is essentially what it sounds like. You are going to get lands from your deck and get them into the battlefield. Basically for the cost, basically a cost to gain ratio. So, a lot of these are not like don't net very much, but they are still useful. Like one example that doesn't net you much is called Cultivate. This is a card that you will find everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Everything from precons to basically homebrew decks. 2 and a green, search, and it's a sorcery. It's not an instant. It's a sorcery. Search your library for 2 basic land cards. Reveal them. One goes to the battlefield tapped, and the other comes to your hand. Then you shuffle your library, and you move through. Keep moving on. Now there's a bit of removal. There was one that was a pretty expensive card, but this thing got printed very, very hard, and it got dropped down pretty hard as far as from a collector standpoint. As a player, I think I think of myself as a player collector because I do play, but I also collect. I don't do that much anymore, but you know, it's useful. Got Beast Within. This was a card that used to be something in the realm of, depending on print, anywhere between $2 and $5. But Beast Within, 2 and a green, instant, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. So this is good removal of a problem into something that may not be a problem. Gaia's Gift. This is another great one. This is good protection. 1 and a green, instant. Put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. It'll gain reach, trample, hexproof, and indestructible. Indestructible is great. It's pretty self-explanatory. It does not get destroyed. Hexproof means your opponents cannot target it with spells or abilities. So if it's something very important and you want to keep it around, that's pretty handy. Trample and reach. Reach means it can with flying. Trample translates to I will run this creature over and hit you with the excess damage. It's pretty darn powerful and very useful. There's a nice fun enchantment too that you can play across all of these. This also came out of the D&D set. I believe it's Forgotten Realms, I believe. So it's called Ranger Class. 1 and a green. When Ranger Class enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Now, this one does what's called level up. There's a lot of cards in the older sets that have what's called a level up ability. You pay so many mana and you gain an ability permanently for the rest of the game. So, when it comes into play, that's level 1. Level 2 costs you 1 and a green. Whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. Again, not too bad. Not a bad thing to play. Level 3 is 3 colorless and a green. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. This is where, like I said, when I mentioned the menagerie card with the snake deck idea, and then you have this. If you put this with Ayula, for example, and then you have Nature's Herald in the deck, now you are casting creatures at instant speed, straight up, and you can have a response to somebody trying to do something to you. Those are the quintessential, I guess quintessential is not the right word, but these are some common ones that you will find in almost any green deck. Like Nature's Herald is a big one, Gaia's Gift's another one, Beast Within is the biggest one. Ranger class, maybe not so much, but I personally would like using it in most of my green decks that involve casting big creatures. So I find it very useful myself. So that is the quick rundown of a mono green commander ideas. So this series is going to be long, given that I'm only doing this once a month, right? I'm doing this twice a month in November because I was originally planning for an October cast. That didn't quite happen because, of course, new YouTubing, getting back into YouTube and doing it via phone rather than a game console. Didn't learn all the rules because livecast was pretty easy when you're on a game console. Never had the interference. But hey, live and learn, right? So I am currently working on my Trench Crusade kit bash, and there's actually something I might be getting at the end of the week. If I can get it and I'm able to pull it off, I'm actually really excited. I'm very, very excited because it's going to take my model building that I'm working on to another level, perhaps. So I have my fingers crossed. I'm very excited. I can't wait. So, but in the meantime, the next cast, I gotta think. Next cast will be on Sunday. Sunday is going to be the day I'm going to nail on most, because 9 times out of 10, I'm not working on a Sunday. Or at least not working too far past 8, right? If I end up working. So, let's see. I might not do it before. I don't know if I'll do it before. Will it be Christmas week? Yeah, maybe. Maybe Christmas week. Yeah. I think Christmas week. I might have to do it Christmas week. I don't know. New Year's Eve is on a Wednesday this year. Yeah, New Year's Eve is on a Wednesday this year. Let's see. Probably the week of Christmas will be episode 3. Now, I will put out there a vote for what the next episode should be. So, we've gone through green. We did white first. We got green today. So, we're left with red, blue, and black. That's what we're left with. The Grisix colors, as it's known. So, I'll put that out there on my channel as a post. I will also put it out there on a few commander channel that I'm a part of right now. They'll be like, hey, here's the next vote. So we'll see what comes out of it, guys. So I'm still excited about doing this once a month. I really am. I feel like I covered quite a bit. I feel a little bit better than the white discussion, of the mono white deck ideas discussion. It's that feeling of you feel prepared and then you feel not prepared. But today I felt good. Today feels like a great day. So, let's see. Final thoughts. Any final thoughts? If I only had a brain for that. Anyway, so, yeah. So, yes. So, episode 3, whatever the vote ends up being, I will probably give the voting 2 weeks. And so, there's going to be a 2-week vote. And whatever comes out of it, that'll be episode 3. So, I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it. So, we got red, blue, black. That's what we have left to discuss for single color. Then we're going to be moving into the dual colors. Though that is a lot deep discussion because a lot of people don't do the monocolor unless it's a standard build. You don't see a lot of commander build monocolor. Not a lot. They're out there, but they're not a lot. So, the week of Christmas, that'll be probably episode 3. I'll put an exact date on there. Probably not long after this comes out officially. So, come find my channel, LEXTF Games. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I am currently sitting over 100 subscribers since I started doing this a month ago. I am so happy about that, and I'm very grateful for the support that is there, and the more that will be coming in the future. I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I will see you guys on the next live cast. Just a moment of reflection of where this has gone in the last month. It's been great. Thank you all again. I'll catch you on the next one.